All right, all right. We'll see if people come back in after that fiasco. Oh man, that was funny. Boom, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, boom. Let's go to X. We're not gonna put on the music. Let's see here. Da, 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 da. Ooh, buddy. I might have killed my stream for tonight, but that's all right. I'll be going over to Vincent Martin's here soon. Let's bring up. I got to get everything set anyway. So we'll see who comes in and who doesn't. Boom, boom, boom. Mm. Oh, oh no, let's not. Let's not do that. Boom, boom, boom. Mm-mm-mm. Can I do this? I should have gotten set up, but I was too busy arguing online. Uh, mm-hmm. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go to the main page here while I try and get this set up the way I want it. Because I need to actually. Scene. Reading. Let's add a background. Yo, what's going on, Simon? Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Had to take care of some stuff. It happens. So it's going to be a short stream anyway, because I'm going over to Vincent's, I think at around 11 my time. So we're going to go over some D&D stuff since I made a bunch of people mad. Let's see here. Is this, that's not what I need. I need a display capture. Boom. Oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing about it too. I'll take the L, I guess, on not knowing who Sandy Peterson is. Um, but I've never really looked up anybody's name based off of things that they have said or done. Like when it comes to D&D, I rarely even ever played source books. All of my friends, everyone we hung out with, we made our own stuff up. Uh, nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. That one. There we go. There we go. Boop. While I'm doing it, I'm going to work on my campaign stuff just to prove that I'm a. No, because I have nothing better to do. We're going to watch some Heels versus Babyface too. Let's pull this down into the background. because I actually haven't played in quite a while, but I'm getting to DM again in 2 weeks. I've actually been talking about it quite a bit. Let's see, what book are we? Where is it? There it is. Crooked Campaign. Open with. Boop. So how have you been doing, Simon? Yeah, I think I killed the forward momentum of my stream when that happened. But what can you do? That's got everything up. Let's pull up heels versus babyface. Heels versus babyface. I'm probably gonna have to adjust this too. Yeah, no, 10. Really? Only an hour? Okay. Okay, so it's gonna be a really short stream. Here, let's do this then. We'll bring up the tweets. I thought it was 11 my time, but I forget Vincent's in a different time zone and he's not good at talking about said time zone. X. Bum, 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 bum. And that. Endymion. Is this it? This is it. This is it. Boom, boom, boom. So, if you were paying any attention in the D&D world, this picture came out, right? Let's go to my tweet on it. Because I said a couple of things here and there. Oh boy, what did Mr. Pronouns have to say? He put out a video about the D&D stuff. Looking at the time though, and knowing that I'm gonna have to go over to Vincent's stream because he wanted to bring me over to talk about Leo, which I know a little bit about Leo, but I don't know. I only know what's been said by other commentary people about Leo Convoy. But I don't mind coming over and talking to him about it. You see, here's all the messages I did to Peterson, but here's the original picture. Oh, you can't see it yet because I'm a dum-dum. Boop. There it is. Here's the original picture that was put out by Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast. Everyone hates wizards. I agree. I hate wizards. First saw it, I think, with Heels versus Babyface. I'm surprised it didn't come up on my feed because I should be following them. Yeah, I am following and I have notifications. So this picture came up, right? And of course, everyone lost their fucking minds. I have seen that hentai monster in the background, and the only time it smiles is when things bad is happening. So I can also assume this led to a very dark story. I mean, that's kind of funny. I can go with that. It's not entirely true. Even the wokes hate Wizard. Yeah, well, like there's so much to hate about Wizard. It's so easy to hate them. They've been fucking up the golden goose that they had when they made 5e, right? Because we had 3.5, which was, by far one of the more popular systems. I never played second edition. I just didn't get into it until 3.5. I think I owned a starter set to second edition, but I don't remember if it was second or third. Then, so TSR, through all of their mismanagement, closed down, and Wizards of the Coast, before they were bought out by Hasbro, were they with Hasbro the whole time? That I may be wrong about. Either way, they bought up Dungeons and Dragons, and they made 3 and then quickly after 3.5. And 3.5 was, in my opinion, a great system. it was way too crunchy for the average player to actually play. Like your DM had to be a mathematician. A lot of pluses and minuses, and you can use this, but you can't use that. So D&D wanted to improve on that, or Wizards of the Coast wanted to improve on that, I guess. In reality, I think they wanted to make because they made tons and tons of source books for this. They talk about this. It's only the fantasy realm. That's not true. Eberron was part of, like, what they're talking about is they're not just talking about fantasy. They're talking about high fantasy swords and sorcery, right? That's the your introduction was D&D 4th edition. I am sorry, my friend. That was a horrible edition. That was basically a tabletop game at that point. But like even if you go back to 2nd edition, there was all sorts of different settings that didn't fall under the traditional D&D, the traditional sword and sorcery setting, right? You can go Dragonlance is sword and sorcery, Forgotten Realms is sword and sorcery, though it still has its differences in like what I would consider a more traditional sword and sorcery, like Dragonlance, right? Then then there's Eberron, which is a more modernish take. I don't think modern. I think like Industrial Revolution time, but with magic instead of powdered weapons and things like that. And that world is vastly different. Like you get into the weeds on Eberron, and there is a class system. The orcs and goblins and monstrous races are now in Eberron part of normal society, but they're considered the underdogs, right? So it really lets you play a completely different style of just doing quests and things like that, because it can get very political. The entire world of Eberron is this political landscape with shadow fights because the last war destroyed the land, and everyone's afraid if they do it, I forget what the mist is called, will spread and destroy everything. I never was super big on D&D to begin with, since I never had any friends who were into it, and tabletop games were never really my thing. That's fair. I learned, so I knew about it ever since I was a kid, and I love storytelling and I love doing stuff like that. So I always wanted to play, but again, I didn't have a friends group that played. We played Magic at the lunch table in school. I had friends that I played with Magic at, when I went over to the house, but I never did anything with D&D. It wasn't until much later that I found a group who did. That's also the same group that introduced me to Warhammer as well, and I played a ton of D&D and Warhammer through that period. That's where I got my love for painting my Warhammer miniatures, and I started meeting more people. Like 3.5 definitely opened it up for more people to play D&D. It was a much wider, greater audience. 2nd edition made Dungeons and Dragons famous, but you still didn't talk to, tell people you played Dungeons and Dragons. It's 3.5 did do that. They, spread out that reach. Now, when 4 came out, they hit a rough spot because 4 was not received well by the greater Dungeons and Dragons community. It was easier to play in a way than 3rd edition was, and I think that's what they were trying to go for. They failed miserably with it. And then 5e came out, and 5th edition has been like the golden age of D&D. So the system, while it is pretty crunchy from a new player perspective, if you have I look up D&D lore videos about it for inspiration for my LN series. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, D&D in general does that, gives you that inspiration for a lot of things. I mean, Gary Gygax and them took inspiration from Tolkien, right? He took Tolkien's orcs and made them his own. They weren't, exactly the same, but they were, that style of Dungeons and Dragons. So that has been molded over the years. And then there's other systems that have come out with the rise of with the creation of fourth edition, a lot of gamers were pissed and they just wanted to play third. They wanted new stuff for third. So what happened? Pazio created Pathfinder and basically took over that market for 3.5. It was basically pretty much 3.5 with the rules changed. Tolkien redefined high fantasy as a whole, to be honest with. He really did. You can't deny that while most people really didn't know who Tolkien was until the movies came out, his influence was felt everywhere when it came to fantasy, right? No one, like when people are writing fantasy, the first thing they think of is orcs and goblins and all of that other stuff. My best friend and his brothers played D&D. My parents wouldn't let me though, which was weird because it was the only thing I recall them having a problem with. Fantasy VGs were fine. Okay. I mean, that's weird, but I guess it goes that way. I mean, it's a different thing for everybody. I know, there are still people who will say Dungeons and Dragons is evil and you shouldn't be playing it. Uh, things like that. All of that's just dumb. But yeah, so this picture came out. Fifth edition, we'll go back to that. Fifth edition was basically it has been a golden age. Like 3.5 was like a huge rise in D&D, but fifth edition is where it exploded. And it exploded, I think, for a couple of reasons. One, there was the rise of the internet, in which you could get into these communities and find ways to play. The OGL, that D&D, that the original OGL was forgot what I was saying. The OGL basically said that creators could make whatever they want within the D&D rule set and even sell it, right? That D&D Wizards of the Coast wasn't going to come in and take that away. They tried to change that recently because they want to make money off of it. They're not making money off of any of the current OGL stuff. Well, they are now. They're starting to, because they're taking that. When the OGL thing didn't work, it looks like what they're doing now is they're taking some of these off-branch campaign settings like Grim Hollow, like the Crooked Moon, at least the big ones, and they're starting to integrate it into D&D Beyond to sell as packages. There's a bunch of other ones too. So there's this huge community that's come up from being able to make all these new settings and content and things like that, and that drove D&D. Then we get to Matt Mercer and Critical Role and the rise of what I like to call theater D&D. So like Matt Mercer and them are great. I think Critical Role is one of the few who actually play D&D. A lot of the other more theatrical ones tend to not play D&D. They tend to play like theater, but the D&D rules were the start of it. Like I started watching the Crooked campaign that I'm going to be running here soon is under the Tales of Advantris YouTube. And I used to think they were more like, when I first started watching them here recently, their videos, they played with the D&D rules, but I thought they were more authentic because there's more jokes, there's more laughing, crude humor, things like that. But as I've gotten into their campaign, I've clearly seen that like they just completely ignore the rules a bunch of times just to make content, I guess. It is what it is. That's at least one of the little seasons that they've done. Some of the other ones still seem to stick closer to it. But I mean, that exploded. Now there were people who were watching people actually play the game. And getting to it. Yeah, he actually is very decisive in the D&D community, mostly because this thing started like when Critical Role came out and it exploded in D&D, like the rise of like tabletop programs that you could run D&D with, and people integrating themselves into online communities because they wanted to play. people like Matt Mercer's D&D, Critical Role's D&D is just that. Like I said, theater D&D. Everyone on Critical Role are professional voice actors. They have done voice acting in the movie industry or in smaller venues and things like that. So they're professionals. So when you watch them play D&D, it's like watching a movie that you pretend in your head while they roll and do these things. And Matt Mercer is very good at that. Well, what happened is a lot of these new players were coming into game shops and onto online, and they were expecting that high quality role playing, which isn't a good representation of what D&D is. There's many different ways, there's many different styles of playing D&D. Not everyone uses the voices and all the other stuff that you see with it, right? You have people who are very like book hardcore, like especially like one shot guys. They don't care about the lore. They don't care about it's not that they don't care about the lore. They don't care about the gameplay, or they don't care about the RPG side. They just want to do the gameplay. There are tables that are more RPG and they spend a lot of time RPGing and things like that. And then there are tables where it's less so. Doesn't Wizard of the Coast own the rights to it though? Yes, Wizards of the Coast does, but when Wizards of the Coast the original Wizards of the Coast team, and I can't remember his name for the life of me because I never know the name of these guys. They wrote up the OLG, I believe, long before. Let's see here. What is the OGL? My dyslexia keeps doing that. They wrote up the OGL. It's the Open Game License. The OGL for D&D basically said, word for word, Grand Wizard of the Coast. That's great. That's great. What I mean is, if you wanted to create your own game with these rules, you can't do that because they'll sue you. No, they've actually written up a contract, an open gaming license contract to anyone. They can't come in and sue people right now legally because the original CEOs and things like that wrote up this OLG and basically said that this will be a thing forever. That opens it up to say that the product's mechanics and methods. So let me switch over here. Boom. Let's close X. Go to window capture. Wikipedia. I mean, this is just Wikipedia, but this is a good part of it. It says the game mechanics, including methods, procedures. I guess I got to give y'all the right, including the methods, procedures, processes, routines, to the extent of content, does not embody the product identity and is an enhancement over the prior art. Product IP identity, the product names, logos, identification markers include trade dressing, artifacts, creatures, characters, stories, incidents, language, artwork, design, symbols, blah, 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 blah. For another, where is it talking about? The Open Game License is a public copyright license by Wizard of the Coast that was used by tabletop role-playing game developers to grant permission to modify, copy, and redistribute some of the content designed for their games, notably game mechanics. So they basically gave an open license to anyone to make D&D content. Like, you could use the rule set, and it exploded. D&D is gay. That's right, Vincent. D&D is gay. It exploded because of this, because people started opening Kickstarters for D&D campaigns. You had they were losing pretty hard until 5th edition came out to Paizo. Paizo had taken the market because it's what the hardcore D&D audience wanted to play. The OGL, though, gave that license. Now, when the other CEOs and all that stuff left, they proposed changes in 2022. Or was it from TSR? Yeah, 3rd edition. The OGL 1.0 was soon thereafter followed by the original publishers and originally published by Wizards of the Coast in 2000 to license user portion of the third edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So you could publish essentially even anything under third edition, but it wasn't as easy as it is now to start up a Kickstarter, to start up anything else, especially during the 5e time. In 2022, the new Wizards of the Coast put up an initiative to try and subvert or flat out change the OGL so that they could go after people who are doing it, so they could force them to be paid. Yeah, so people ought to just do an alt D&D world if they don't like this trajectory. I agree 100%. If they don't like the trajectory, there's tons of systems out there, high fantasy systems that you can use to play. There's new ones coming out all the time. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. I mean, Paisley is not the way to go because from what I understand, they're still very gay as well too. And that's like, this is probably one of the big starts of the hate towards Wizards of the Coast. You know, the old hats left, the new hats came in, and it was all about corporate money, taking corporate things, trying to change it. And they've tried to change it multiple times. I don't know if I haven't kept up with it as much, but I know it's something that they want to get rid of because they've been talking about D&D 1, which has pretty much been dropped. D&D 1 doesn't exist. That turned into the 2024 D&D, which has been an absolute flop. No one wanted another edition. 5th edition was fine for the vast majority of people. They wanted more content within that 5th edition. And 2025, this will be the first time I'm playing it, so I'll have more opinions on it when I actually play it. But there's a lot of things I already don't like. One thing is they took out, they sanitized a lot of the lore. They made orcs a playable race. That's something that the D&D community as a whole has wanted for years, but it's never really been officially done that I can remember. There's maybe a few campaign books in 3.5 where you could play evil characters. I don't remember if there's any in 5e. I know there are some, like kobolds are a playable character in both editions, and other strange races. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of what's going on with D&D. I only have like 5 minutes and I got to go run to Vincent, shall we say. But this picture came out. If you want to know what this picture is, it's just a gay pride coming out day thing. Like it's a very small niche thing. Like I don't care about this in the least. I don't care that they made 9 products based off of what's clearly fan art. I don't even know who the artist's name is. They probably didn't put it up there because they knew people would give them hate for it. That isn't representative of D&D as a whole. This is one little thing they made. Can you call it pandering? Absolutely. Corporations pander to all sorts of people in all sorts of ways. They, when they were trying to make the art for AD&D or for 2025, it looks like the pandering was trying to get to a younger audience because the art style just looks cartoonish at best. Let's see here. What is it called? D&D Beyond. I hate this website, but I still use it. I'll be sending you a link about 10 minutes setting up right now. All right, Vincent. All right. I'm not going to stay on stream for it. So this is just kind of a short stream. If you want to come over and learn about Leo Convoy and whatever else Vince wants to tell me about. Let's not use this. I'm trying to find some art. D&D 2025. One thing they also did that people hated with 2025 is they they separated it. Instead of releasing all the books, they released them one at a time, right? Which to me was just a terrible move. Like you take this right here and compare it to 5e DM guide. It's clearly trying to be the same picture. Okay, let's do this. Images. It's clearly trying to be the same, a similar picture. So we got that one right there. That's the 5e one. And then down here, you have, oh, God damn it. And then over here, you have D&D 2025 because they don't want to call it 3.5 in any way. I want to say there's another, I've seen this before in another cover. Like this is very much more cartoonish than this. This seems a little bit darker, and you can do it on the monster manual too. D&D 5e. I might tomorrow when I stream actually go over the heels versus babyface. Like here is a good like representation. Let's see if I can get it at least big enough to see. There is the darker 5e. Here is the more cartoonish monster manual. I think these would be valid criticisms. I like this art style compared to this. You start looking at some of the demons and stuff like that compared to or the monsters compared to what they look like in this book, and they look a lot more cartoonish. Like this is this one I think is fan made. The Lich, badass picture. But in the player's handbook, it is, or in this one, it's not that badass a picture. It's very cartoonish. It's very, I feel like sanitized. Then you talk about what happened with the races, right? The orcs became playable, but they sanitized their entire race. There's no more god of the orcs. I forget his name, Grumish or something like that, who was an evil god. They've even sanitized things like the dark elves that, are known as an evil race, but guess what? They're also playable characters that you can put on any alignment. They're also the most popular lawful good ranger in D&D is Dritz Duerden, a dark elf that turned from his people, right? So that's their complaints. He said I got about 10 minutes, so I'm going to keep going. Their complaints is that this piece of fan art used for a little gay event is subverting D&D. So I made the statement here that this shit's bullshit. There's a lot of things to hate about who are they called? About Wizards of the Coast and the way they've handled D&D. And, of course, I call people tourists because that's the way I am sometimes. Heels versus Babyface said something about it. And then I got in trouble and I made a mistake, guys. I made a mistake because I called this guy, Sandy Pearson, a tourist. Now, again, I didn't know who he was at the time. Maker of Doom, or writer in Doom. Was he a writer? I wish Kamoji was Sandy Peterson a writer for D&D, or was he just a map maker? Now he also wrote a series, a D&D, or not a D&D, an RPG, a tabletop RPG that I've always wanted to play, but I've never had a group that'll play it. I'm considering going to one of the D&D Doom. Did he make maps for Doom? Or did he actually write for Doom? I don't know how much writing would you do for Doom 1 and 2? So it had to be maps. I give him credit for that. Doom is one of my favorite games to play, especially when I was younger. Like he's saying this is a blue dragon. If you go look at 3.5 lore, this looks more like a silver dragon than a blue dragon. So let's do this again. Blue dragon. I go back to 3.5 because that's the one I know. Everyone seems to like 3.5. No one started really hating on Wizards of the Coast until 4th edition, and no one started really, really hating on them until 2024 came out. He made a whole episode 3 for Doom and 17 maps from Doom 2. That's pretty cool. That is badass. Blue Dragon. I still think he's wrong here. Blue Dragon, D&D. I don't know what that was. That could have been some porn book. 3.5. 3.5. As we wait for, let's go images. This is a blue dragon. Silver. Oh, are they really? Silver Dragon, D&D, 3.5. Silver Dragon in the lore of 3.5 is this one. Of course, it doesn't show it big. Now, this is just fan art, so what we are arguing over online with this is semantics, right? Because this doesn't represent the actual D&D world, the actual D&D game, because they don't show this stuff. I think he just sent me the link. No, I had. Oh yeah, no, EGAD, it didn't crash. I had to go and get something taken care of. The semantics of it. If you want to get down to semantics and you want to play like rules lawyering and you want to be a lore fucking diver, this is not a blue dragon. It's a silver dragon. Silver dragons, in the lore of 3.5 at least, were friendly towards humans and humanoids in general. In fact, they loved them so much they would leave their dragon stuff and go live with humans. In which case, they would turn into humans, befriend people, things like that, have large relationships. So, if you want to get lore, this is completely possible. Hopefully Vincent sends it here soon. Completely possible, completely something that could happen, but this is what people are mad at, and I don't really care. They're also mad that the owlbear is here. I'm sorry, Baldur's Gate popularized the owlbear pet. On top of it, there are rules, lore rules in 3.5, and lore about taming them in 5e. So you're just wrong here. Then, beholders are only dangerous. Beholders are only dangerous creatures that attack people on sight. What was his exact words? Oh, man. Kobolds. He says kobolds. Kobolds are an evil, a lawful evil. They organized into co-op operations, thoroughly nasty, blah, 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 blah. Prepare to lose everyone in chat with me. I'm sending the link now. All right. That's fine. I'll end up closing it down. Kobolds have had a very interesting story in D&D. A lot of times they're just, okay, I can do that. A lot of times they're just relegated to either a comedic group to fight, or people find them as cute animals. They've always wanted to be a playable race. They've been a playable race as early as 3.5 again. So he's just lost base here. He's trying to say these are actual quotes from the rules, failing to even acknowledge all of the other rule sets and supplements. Okay, I'm about to come on, bud. Don't worry. Don't worry, I'm still coming over to you. Ignoring all the other rule sets that talk about this lore. Finally, we'll go into it real quick. The Beholder, because there was something else he did. The Beholder, yes, is generally an evil creature that attacks on sight. Where I wish I could. The Beholder one I can't find that he said. Maybe he didn't say it, and I'm just losing base on the other people who were crying about it. But I come to find out today, new lore that I found out is that there is a second edition good Beholder that runs an inn called Large Luigi. So even then, talking about the lore as, and I won't say him because I can't find the one where he said this. I'm almost certain he did. He's just wrong. He's just wrong. So you know what? If you act like a tourist and you smell like a tourist, I'm going to call you a tourist. Now, with that, I still want to play Call of Cthulhu. I'm still going to buy the books one day, and I'm still going to try and find a party to run it. I may have to do it online, though. Anyway, with that being said, guys, quick little session. I think I'll watch some more D&D stuff Saturday and whatever woke slop comes up between there. But I want to thank you guys for coming out. Anyone who's still here, go over to Vincent's channel, Vincent Martain. We're going to be going over some stuff on that side, usually dealing with his feud with the commentary community. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see y'all next time, guys.